really, you guys must have had a great time. Well, for those of you guys who've never been here before, let me warmly welcome you down to our alligator rescue. My name is Ashley. I'm an alligator wrestler here. I also help with some of our rescues that we do. All of the alligators you see in here, and one time they actually did come from the wild, believe it or not. But unfortunately, these kids picked up some pretty bad habits somewhere along the way. You see, these alligators are what we consider nuisance gators, which pretty much just means they ended up in somebody's backyard, somebody's swimming pool, or they tried to eat somebody's fluffy, something along those lines. And as crazy as that sounds, folks, this actually happens a lot here in our state of Florida. We get around 8 to 10,000 nuisance alligators every year. That's a lot. That's crazy. Now, we do have around 2 million alligators in the state of Florida. They're not an endangered species like our American crocodile is, but they're still a very important part of our ecosystem, being an apex predator. So they are a very important animal in this area. Now, unfortunately, here in Florida, most of our nuisance alligators do end up being destroyed. The nuisance trappers will happily remove them for you free of charge, but they make their living selling the meat and hide of alligators. So that's where our group comes in. Now, this organization, by organization I mean like 6 people, we are all volunteers. Now, I know that sounds a little crazy, but we are volunteers that come in. We introduce educational shows for the public. The money we raise here through the tips and donations, and watching those baby gator pictures that we do at the end, all of that money is what we use to actually run the rescue. We use it to buy our alligators out from the trapper. We use it for their health issues that they may have if they come in, sometimes injuries, anything like that. And of course, for the food bill, because these guys do eat a lot, which is pretty neat. We do have feedings once a week at the end of the day. If you guys are ever interested in that, our brave birds as well. So that's how this whole thing runs. Now, that's kind of the short story. If you want to learn more about our organization and the people who work here, check out our show on Animal Planet. It's called Gator Boys. Has anyone seen the show? People, very good. It's the #1 rated show on Animal Planet. We are very excited to have it. It's done a lot of good things for us. It's every Sunday night at 9 o'clock. You can see the show. Watching some of the episodes, you have this really short red-headed girl that looks like this. So check it out. What I'm going to do now, folks, I'm going to teach you a little bit about alligator wrestling and alligator behavior as well. And hopefully, we can do that without any incident or injury. This is a very cold day, and I'm sure nobody wants to participate. Now, we do try and use all of the alligators we have in here. That way they only have to do, it's cold, 1 or 2 shows a day. That way none of them get too stressed out or tired. As per the rules of the alligator union. That's my first really bad joke. There's plenty more to go. Now, when our alligators first come here from the wild, folks, they are pretty bad mamma jammas, okay? They come in here and they are spinning and hissing. They are afraid of you. They're trying to defend themselves because they have no idea what's going on. Now, over time, fortunately for us, these are pretty smart animals. We handle them very calmly and gently, and they start to figure out I'm not a real threat. It makes our jobs a lot easier. You're noticing none of these alligators are, spinning in the water or opening their mouth. I'm not really posing a threat to them right now. There's really 2 things that motivate our alligators. Seafood and immediate danger. Neither of those 2 things are nearby. They usually stay pretty calm so they can conserve their energy. Now, I am going to pull this guy out by the tail. Keep in mind, though, that tail is solid muscle. It is very strong. So, when you pull it by the tail, it doesn't hurt. Don't worry, guys, I'm not going to hurt the alligator. Alright, so this is one of our young males. He weighs about 100 pounds, 150 pounds. As you guys can see, he is so excited for the show. Look at all the enthusiasm. You're alright, buddy. This is Mac. So as you guys can probably tell, this is not an animal who's fighting for his life, right? You guys see that? It's pretty calm for an alligator, which is good. Now, they don't want to waste their energy if they don't have to, like I mentioned before. Now, just because this alligator understands that I'm not a threat, does not mean he's not going to bite. Keep in mind, guys, even though we're able to work with them in an easier, more animal-friendly way, even though the alligators have an understanding, it doesn't mean that they're trained or tamed. Thank you, sir. This is a good crowd. Usually I just see all the cameras come up at the same time. Now, I know the motivation of this alligator behind me is to get more sunlight, not to come and help his buddy. So, fortunately for us, they don't really operate that way. Come on out, buddy. We know it's a cold day. Now, like I mentioned before, these animals are not trained or tamed. We get that question a lot, because sometimes it looks like they're trained, but they're not. Trust me. In fact, this big gator right behind you that just came out, you might recognize him from the TV show. He actually bit our boss, Paul, right in the head. Okay, so they are not a trained animal. That is my favorite alligator right there. True story. So, let me show you guys what it is we're working with here. Inside of their mouth, guys, this is an American alligator. They have 80 teeth. 40 on the top, 40 on the bottom, and they bite down with enough force. They've been known to actually break their own teeth right out of their mouth. Now, the good news is they're going to grow those teeth right back. You guys saw all 80 teeth, right? So we're going to do those jaws close. They bite down with enough force, they've been known to break their teeth, and they'll actually grow them back. So this animal can cycle through almost 2,000 to 3,000 teeth in a lifetime, which is good for him because they bite down with a lot of force. We're talking a ton of pressure. 2,000 pounds per square inch has been measured inside the mouth of the American alligator. You guys don't seem very impressed by that. That is a lot. Let me give you some perspective. I know it's kind of a big abstract number. That is roughly 3 times the jaw strength of a great white shark. Take that, Shark Week. That is pretty awesome. Now, they bite down with all this force using these enormous jaw muscles you see right here. So the jowls of the alligator, that's not fat. It's solid muscle. You can see it on this guy right behind me. See how thick that neck is? That is his jaw muscle, and that muscle is for closing the jaws. They slam it shut like a bear trap. Now the key is in the muscles they use to open the mouth. Those are a lot smaller and a lot bigger in comparison, and folks, that is what allows us to hold these jaws closed. Otherwise, the show would be a lot shorter and a lot more fun for you to watch. Now, alligator wrestling. Not like wrestling you see in a ring, okay? So we don't hurt them, we don't headlock them, we do not wear tights or spandex, not that kind of wrestling. What it actually is the traditional techniques of our Native Americans here in Florida. The Seminole Indians relied on the meat and hide of the alligators to survive. Now, what they used to do is they'd go out, bring the alligators back one at a time, but that kind of became a little cumbersome and pretty dangerous. So they'd actually make an area in their camp where they keep all the alligators together, and the techniques arose from them being able to pull the alligators out and harvest them one at a time. So if you're traveling in a canoe and you're bringing these alligators back, and alligators inside your canoe, you're probably going to want to tie the jaws shut, right? So that's what they do. For transport, they tie the alligator shut, put a rope around the jaws, a tight knot. Sounds pretty simple. It's a little tricky though. You realize they didn't do this in a team. This is a one-man job. Now if you guys have ever tied a knot, you know you need 2 hands, right? 2 hands to tie a knot. So both of your hands are tying the knot. How do you think they're holding the jaws closed? Very carefully is the exact answer, yes. They held it shut in between their chin and their chest. And the front teeth right against their jaw. Now it makes sense because if you hold your hands, you can take out that rope, right? Now this technique is what they call the bulldog. I'm going to demonstrate it for you guys right now. So if you'd like a photo, please have your cameras ready. It looks pretty cool. My arms go out to the side with this big spray of blood. Check to see who's still listening. All right. No hands. You can then take out your rope, you tie it up around the alligator's jaws, cut and tie an alligator. That's your cue, folks. There we go. Ooh, okay, so that went well. That's how they pull that off in the wild. Pretty cool stuff. We'd love to know who figured that out first. Pretty neat move. Now, some other cool things about this beautiful guy. Take a look at his eyes. Alligators have a third eyelid. If you watch closely, you can see it. It's going to flip forward as he opens his eyes. Isn't that cool? So So that is what we call an nictitating membrane. It comes up like a swim goggle, protects his eyes underwater. Behind the eyes, see this little flap I'm wiggling right here? Anybody know what those are? Those are his ears. Yeah, aren't they cute? Oh, come on, you guys, you're a tough crowd. That's adorable. So what's cool about his ears, they're actually very specialized. As an animal that lives in the water, he can flex his ears closed. You can feel off the ear canal. Up here are his nostrils, which he can flex closed as well. And most importantly, he's in the back of the throat. See how it just kind of ends back there? So there is a valve in the back of the alligator's throat. It's what we call a glottis. Now this is so important because it completely seals the alligator's throat open. That way he can open his mouth into the water to catch his prey without drowning himself. Now even though the alligator lives in the water, this is still a reptile, so he does have to hold his breath. Although they're very well adapted, all of these adaptations, they work together to make this animal the #1 top predator in his environment. That is pretty cool stuff. I've heard stories of alligators holding their breath up to 6 hours at a time. Okay, so these are pretty amazing animals. Now I do have one more trick to show you guys. Before I do the last trick, I'll tell you a little bit about myself.